Texas. Chainsaws. Massacres. What do you get when you combine all of them? You get 9 films spanning over 50 years that fill your head with all the wrong ideas about Texas and its inhabitants. They're friendly people over there, trust. I went there for 4 days last year and I felt incredibly safe. I didn't feel like I was going to get shot at all, so they passed the vibe check in my eyes. So today we're just going to go through all of the 9 movies in this franchise and just kind of talk about each and every one of them. What I have to say about each one can vary in length, so if I don't talk a ton about your favorite entry, I do apologize, but this is just simply my opinion, and this might be a pretty long video, so I highly encourage go get a water, get some snacks, all right, get a nice pillow to put behind your head, lay down, get comfortable, okay, and just relax as we discuss the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. It all started in 1974 when Tobe Hooper invented a little country called Texas to set this movie in. This one follows a group of friends who come across a cannibalistic family with one member wielding a chainsaw and wearing people's faces called Leatherface. Right off the bat, this movie grips you with its first image. This image and the movie as a whole just give off this feel of griminess and unease. Everything looks gross, uncomfortable, and miserable. I mean, look at all the sweat on these characters. And you know they're not faking that. In denim too? My God, that's absolute torture, sweating that much. Everything about the directing in this almost feels documentary-esque, with the handheld and a lot of the dialogue feeling natural and or improvised. It really adds to the alleged true story angle this movie pushed early on, which is crazy to think of at the time because you couldn't just Google if this shit was real or not. You'd have to go to a library and find out that info, and nobody's going to a library. Back to the directing, this movie is filled to the brim with excellent shots. None of them feel flashy or complicated, but are so fantastic in their simplicity, like this shot. Very unsettling for how much the red stands out, or these amazing close-ups. And obviously, this perfect shot from behind. Maybe the most iconic shot in the movie, for good reason. Let's talk about the man of the hour though, Leatherface, because he is terrifying. I think the biggest badass in the world would have a little piss in their pants if this was running at them. I think what makes Leatherface so scary is the fact that people with large frames like him and chainsaws do exist, so it doesn't feel completely alien for someone like this to just go nuts. We know Freddy Krueger ain't real, so I'm not scared of that bitch. But Leatherface, he keeps me up at night. He's also such an iconic character, I think, because of his look. Pardon the glaze, but I just love his whole look and outfit. How he always has a nice tie to complement the face he's wearing. He has an eye for fashion. He's really not a lot of people can dress themselves well, okay, and I appreciate that he puts in the time and effort before he goes outside. It's such a random look, but it fits his character. Him dancing on the road at the end is such a weirdly beautiful scene that's kind of hard to describe, but it just hits, especially with the gorgeous orange lighting from that golden hour sunlight. Perfection. Also, I know I just said this other shot was the best shot in the movie, but this one is also the best shot. There's 2 best shots in the movie. I'm going to wrap it up here because we got 8 other movies to talk about, but this is just an all-around fantastic horror movie that excels at disturbing me on every rewatch. But it's not just a great horror movie, it also shows the amazing things that can be done on a low budget. This was a rather independent film, and it just makes it all the more cool how big and influential this was on everything that came after it. Bravo. Released in 1986, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 follows a radio show host who is being hunted down by Leatherface and his family, all while a lawman played by Dennis Hopper is out to kill Leatherface. Okay, so on paper, this movie sounded awesome to me. I love Dennis Hopper. The premise sounded different enough from the first, which also piqued my interest. It wasn't just another group of friends stumbling across Leatherface. And also the director of the first, Tobe Hooper, returned, which I thought was a good sign. And like I just said before, on paper, this movie sounded awesome. But in execution, it did not work for me. Like at all. This movie's tone leans heavily into comedy, which I was very open to. This switch up in tones from one horror movie to the other made me think of the first two Evil Dead movies. The tone of those first two movies is drastically different, but the quality, in my opinion, stays the same. I'm not at all trying to compare these two franchises. I'm just trying to say I'm all for a sequel going in a crazy direction if it's good in the end. The tone of this one just baffled me. I didn't find it funny or scary or disturbing. And it's not like these have super dense stories or anything, so in the end, I was just left rather bored. I love Dennis Hopper, but he's in the movie for like 5 minutes. I thought he was going to be the main character, but instead it's this disc jockey. And no hate to the actress, obviously, but I didn't find her character that interesting to follow. I wanted me some Dennis Hopper. How's Leatherface in this movie, though? Well, he's certainly in it, and horny for some reason. He has some good kills. It's very hard for him to not be entertaining, even though it seems like he dies at the end. Let me try to get some positives in this section, because it's not the worst thing ever made. It really isn't. There's one jump scare that I really liked with Leatherface. I thought that one was really good. Obviously, Dennis Hopper's very entertaining. He makes the most of what little screen time he has. And the opening scene in general, I mean, I was excited. I was intrigued. Leatherface killing 2 people on the road is awesome and different. It's really just the tone that did not work for me and kept me from being as into this as I wanted. I could totally understand if this was someone else's thing, but for me, it just didn't work. A young couple driving through Texas become the latest prey of Leatherface and his cannibalistic family. Now this one, I had a really good time with this one. I thought it had a really entertaining first and third act, especially that third act. I love how this survivalist character named Benny shows up in the movie, and he kind of steals the show. He's so entertaining and can handle himself. Him saving the day by just spraying bullets into the Leatherface household was hilarious, and he has some of the best lines in the movie. Another standout character has to be Tex, played by Viggo Mortensen. You can tell he's having a jolly good time with this role, and he's such a fun villain. I like how they were trying to position him as a potential ally, but nah. I could smell the evil on this man a mile away. It's always so sad when someone this good looking is evil, but that's just the world we live in, I'm afraid. Viggo Mortensen is such an entertaining villain that I feel like he almost upstages Leatherface. Overall, though, I was really entertained with this one and had a lot of fun with its final act. So far, this one kind of has the happiest ending out of any of the movies. I mean, 2 characters survive. I think that's maybe the most survivors we've had. I'm happy that Benny survived. Maybe he'll become a legacy character in the future. I don't know if this is the kind of franchise that does legacy characters, especially since, according to the opening crawl, the main girl, Sally, from the first movie, yeah, she's dead, which is a fun thing to learn from an opening crawl. It's got that real, somehow Palpatine returned energy to it, but nevertheless, this was a fun time, so let's see where we go from here. Okay. They really couldn't make up their mind with the title for this one, but that's alright. The Return of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation, follows 4 teenagers who leave their prom early and end up crashing in the Texas backwoods where they are hunted by Leatherface and his family. Now, I will say, without a doubt, this is the weirdest entry so far. It's the weirdest one. Like, I'm talking secret societies and robot legs weird. Matthew McConaughey is this bonkers villain, and he's just doing so much crazy shit. I can't even list it. Every 5 minutes, he's taking a second to just cut into his flesh. He's just a lunatic. This movie from the get-go just felt batshit. I believe this one was going for a more comedic tone like the second one, and it did work for me more with this one. Most of my laughter came from just how bizarre and unpredictable this one was. I honestly got a headache after a while, especially in the last part of the movie where I swear it's just incomprehensible yelling, dicking around with robot legs, and apparently secret societies. And I can't really elaborate much on the secret societies because it's brought up and then I quickly forgot about it because a plane kills Matthew McConaughey like 10 minutes later and then the movie's over. I don't think this is the worst one because I was at least entertained for some of it. There's a chase scene in the middle that I really enjoyed, and I just kind of like the imagery of all these characters in prom attire being chased down. I don't know, it's a really small thing, but it just kind of sets it apart, just a little bit. Also, the ending is, once again, is pretty funny. McConaughey getting clipped by a plane and then Leatherface just chasing down this RV with a very nice couple in it. It's all very, very good stuff. The actual ending to the movie is a bit strange because I guess Sally, the only survivor from the first movie, is actually alive. We see her at the end of this movie, so I guess she's not dead. Weird, but I'm sure this will all make more sense in the next movie. Never mind. Our first Texas Chainsaw Massacre of the 21st century is actually a remake of the first one from 1974. Now, I don't get why they did this because it's set in the 1970s, but it looks and feels like an early 2000s horror movie, so I honestly kept forgetting it was set in the 70s. It's also quite different from the original in terms of some plot points and characters, which once again made me wonder, why try selling this one as a remake? It honestly should have just been Texas Chainsaw 5 instead of The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like, I don't get why horror movies keep doing this thing where, like, I get it after a while, you kind of have to go back to the basics, but, like, it's just confusing when you just title a fifth entry the same as the first entry. They do that so much. They did it with, like, Scream. They do it with Halloween. Like, they always do it, and I'm just kind of like, what if we just called it, like, the next one? Just call it Texas Chainsaw, the next one. Texas Chainsaw, it takes place after the first one, you know? But whatever. I've bitched enough about the general idea behind this entry. How is this one, though? Because I think this is a pretty good entry. You can tell after the last few movies, they wanted to kind of go back to basics. Grimy, dirty, just ugly looking movie in a good way. The 2000s is a decade of horror that I watched a good bit of growing up, and therefore I kind of have a little bit of a soft spot for it. I think that's kind of why I enjoy this one so much. Just there's a certain look and feel of a 2000s horror movie that's just kind of, it's nice. It's a nice feeling. Like I said, the whole look of this one is disgusting, and I couldn't be happier. All the characters are covered in dirt and can't stop sweating to save their lives. It's a little thing, but it's always nice when a character looks properly dirty throughout the movie. Yes, they're good-looking actors and actresses, but beat them up. Throw some dirt on them. The directing for this one is also really strong. There were a lot of shots where you could tell someone was having some fun behind the camera, especially with shots like these. Just tons of fun and loads of creative shots throughout the whole thing. But at the end of the day, it's a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. So how is Leatherface in this one? He's on absolute demon mode in this one. This is the scariest he's been since the first movie, in my opinion. The first scene he shows up is so stupidly hype, and I was already into the movie, but once he burst through the doors, I was dialed in. Leatherface is an absolute menace in this one, and I was terrified of him once again. Overall, I really enjoy this one, and I think it's one of the better entries in this franchise. Let's move on. Okay, so this is the prequel to the 2003 one, which gives us the origin story of Leatherface and his family as they come in contact with a group of friends traveling through Texas. You know the formula at this point. Now, I personally don't think Leatherface needs a prequel or origin story. I think a lot of horror works better with ambiguity. Who is Leatherface? Where did he come from? Why is he the way that he is? I don't really care. These are never questions I had, and even if I did have them, I think it's more fun to come to your own conclusions with something like this. But nevertheless, we have his origin, so let's talk about what it is. Leatherface's mother worked at a slaughterhouse and died giving birth right at her desk. Yeah, right at her desk. She plopped that thing out and just died. The boss then threw the baby into a dumpster because he wasn't trying to deal with all that. Baby Leatherface got saved from the dumpster by his adoptive cannibal family. Once he grows up, he works at the same slaughterhouse that he was birthed at and his mom died at. But once the slaughterhouse closes down, kills his boss, finds a chainsaw, and that's how Leatherface became Leatherface. That's also the first 20 minutes of the movie. After that, it's basically just a normal Texas Chainsaw movie with this group of friends stumbling across Leatherface and his family. I just think it's weird how this movie's positioned as a prequel because it doesn't feel very prequel-worthy outside of those first 20 minutes. It's a minor thing, though, and honestly doesn't take away too much from the movie. As far as this movie goes, I really don't have much to say. I do apologize if this is anyone's favorite entry, but it just didn't do much for me. Maybe watching all of these movies one after the other over the course of a week wasn't the best idea because by this point in the series, I was getting a little burnt out. Not the movie's fault, obviously, but I just feel like that should be known. It still does have that early 2000s charm that I like, so, you know, it gets extra points for that. And I did have a smile on my face at the end of the movie, though, because Leatherface hits the craziest triple kill to close out the movie, and it's hilarious. This final shot is great of him just walking back. Texas Chainsaw 3D follows a young woman, Heather, who has inherited the infamous Leatherface house. Obviously not to her knowledge, and she brings her friends down to the property where Leatherface is itching to chainsaw something. Now this one said a big old fuck you to Texas Chainsaw 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Because this one is positioned as the true sequel to the first one. It opens with footage from the first movie and starts literally the morning of when the first movie ended. The morning of. Who the hell are all these people? I guess the first movie ended on Thanksgiving because there's almost 20 extra people in the Leatherface household that just pulled up in the, I'm assuming, 20 minutes it took Sally to reach the authorities? The town pulls up and takes the law into their own hands by killing everyone in the house and burning it down. The sheriff just stands here and is like probably the worst sheriff I've ever seen. He's so bad at his job. He makes sure to scold them though, like, bro, arrest them. The only survivor from this house fire and the massacre of the whole clan, oh, see what I did there? Is this baby with a mark on its chest. I wonder who that'll end up being. We cut to the present where our main character, Heather, is played by Alexandra Daddario. She works as a butcher and has the worst friends in the world. Her one friend is a hoe. I don't think that's uncalled for calling her that. She's a hoe. And she's having an affair with Alexandra Daddario, Heather's boyfriend, which she never even finds out about. So I wonder why it's even in the movie, let alone why I'm even mentioning it, because it's kind of pointless. This entry is pretty funny. I can't tell you whether it's intentional or not, but other than the first one, this is probably the one I've rewatched the most. It was one of those movies that would always get thrown on while hanging out with some friends. I'm not going to cut it too much slack though, but maybe I enjoy this one 1% more than most would. So the characters aren't anything to write home about. Like I said earlier, Heather's boyfriend and best friend are just the worst. Probably the point though, since I didn't shed a tear when they died. The sheriff sucks at his job and just lets the citizens of this town do whatever they want, but he scolds them after like, bro, you ain't gonna do shit. Just go home and eat some donuts. The whole town is crazy because somehow this guy who led the charge in killing the whole family in the beginning is able to be elected mayor. But I mean, I guess it isn't completely unrealistic because most political figures got crazy skeletons in their closet. Scott Eastwood plays a cop who turns out to be a bad guy, nothing crazy there. And our main character, Heather, is a character who makes one of the more questionable decisions in the series by hiding from Leatherface in a fucking coffin. Why? This is hilarious. Leatherface doesn't really have to try in this one because these characters are so brain dead. It's so easy. There's a scene involving a gate that actually made me want to punch my TV. Leatherface in general in this one is pretty good. It's pretty hard to get him terribly wrong in my opinion. Where his character gets a little interesting for me is that he's the good guy in this one, I think. So in the beginning, the townsfolk kill the whole Leatherface clan, which is not a terrible thing to do since they're a bunch of cannibals, but we don't really know how many of these people were actually bad because, once again, who the hell are all these people? Are all of these people cannibals? That seems like a crazy stretch, but whatever. We'll roll with it. The only people to survive the fire are Leatherface, who was chilling in the basement, probably eating Doritos, and this baby with a suspicious birthmark scar. And that baby is revealed to be Heather, the main character. So her and Leatherface team up because they're actually family, and in the end they kill the evil townsfolk. The sheriff just stands by and does nothing, as is his job. And it's a happy ending, I think. I don't know, the third act of this one's kind of weird. I guess it could be an interesting direction to make Leatherface an anti-hero, but he still kills a lot of innocent people. But he doesn't kill as many people as I think he should have. The best kill in the movie doesn't even belong to him. It belongs to this cop. This is embarrassing. That's something you don't live down. And he didn't. Also, the twist of the movie, and I would barely call it a twist, but the movie seems to think it is. I thought we knew immediately that this baby was Heather, but we got like 2 or 3 scenes where it seemed like a big reveal. I was just a little lost because I was like, didn't we already know this? But then the movie was like, dun dun dun, and I was like, okay. Overall though, if you want to watch an entry that's pretty fun, you could throw this one on. The 3D is really funny, and the characters and story directions are, yeah, they're unexpected. They're all over the place. Like, I mean, they make decisions where you're like, why'd you do that? Like Heather, you know, hiding in a fucking coffin. Alrighty, so that first prequel didn't seem to make waves, so they tried it again. And I will say, this one definitely feels more like a prequel. Kinda, sorta. This one is still under the continuity of the first one and the 3D one. This serves as a prequel to both. In case that even matters. It takes place in the 60s, and it follows a group of escapees from a mental hospital where one of them will grow up to become Chainsaw Man Leatherface. Like I said earlier, this one felt much more like an origin story over the last one, because the entire runtime from start to end is Leatherface's origin. The quality of it is up to you, but I think it lives up to its synopsis at least. I think this one's pretty good. That sounded like a question. I honestly didn't hate this one. It was entertaining enough, and there was one plot point in the movie that actually really worked for me, and I kind of loved it, so we might as well just talk about that. So about 20 minutes in, 4 inmates, that might not be the proper term, but whatever, escape a mental hospital and take a young nurse hostage. The 4 delinquents, that's a better term, are this guy and girl who are absolutely crazy and just want to have sex and kill anyone and everyone. Young love, you know. The other 2 are this larger fella who doesn't say much and has a rather wholesome friendship with the last delinquent named Jackson. Jackson seems like a somewhat reasonable and chill dude. He doesn't want the nurse to die, he cares about his one friend, and in general just seems like a nice guy. But if you've seen the movie, I think you know where we're going with this. This is the Leatherface origin story, so we know that one of these characters grows up to become Leatherface. And we obviously assume it's this character for reasons like lack of vocabulary and a similar build and frame. But near the end of the movie, he is killed by the police. And it's no, maybe he's alive, maybe he's dead. No, he got shot in the head. After this, Jackson, the seemingly chill dude, crashes out and starts killing everyone. And it's here where we realize that Jackson is the one who will grow up to become Leatherface. This twist is actually awesome in my opinion, and it just surprised me, which makes me so happy. Now, I've only seen the movie once, so maybe this twist is super obvious, but I thought they handled it really well, and it's easily the highlight of the movie. As far as the rest of the movie goes, like I said, it's entertaining. I think it has a bit too much going on for such a short runtime. I mean, we got the origin of Leatherface, his family, also having to flesh out these other escapees, the nurse, and a cop who has a vendetta against the Leatherface clan since they killed his daughter. All this in just under 88 minutes. Some of it can feel a bit undercooked, especially the cop character. I like the performance, I just wish he got to do a little more carnage because he's kind of like positioned as this loose cannon hunting them down. No character really had me bashing my head into a wall, so I appreciate that, and I think all the performances are good. It's got some nice kills, Very light on the chainsaw kills, but I can forgive it since, it's an origin. It's really just that twist that slapped a smile on my face, because none of these movies have ever really had twists. It's not like a Scream movie where a twist is baked into the movie's DNA. Again, I don't know how much the twist will hold up on a rewatch, but that doesn't matter because this time I really liked it. Also, final thing, I really didn't know where to put this, but I thought it was funny to bring up. 3 characters, including the gentleman who we already established has a rather large frame, are all on the run from the cops in a scene, and they hide from the cops inside of a cow carcass. All 3 of them hide in it. Now, when I was watching this part, I was on the phone with my girlfriend, and she grew up on a farm, so I asked her, I was like, could 3 humans fit inside of a cow's body? And she goes, absolutely not. It's not even a nitpick, really. I just thought it was super funny. Anyways, we've been here long enough. 8 movies down with just 1 to go. Let's see if we can end it off on a high note. Oh boy. Look, I don't want to come on here and just bash a movie for 10 minutes straight. I don't think it makes me feel better after the fact, and I think there's so many better ways to say something wasn't your cup of tea over straight shit talking. Also, because opinions are subjective, and I don't want to shit on anyone who likes or worked on something if that something brought them joy or experience and something they're passionate about. All that being said, I maybe hated this one. Maybe. Hate's a strong word. This one was certainly not my cup of tea. This one was so not my cup of tea, it might as well have been a cup of stale coffee. Texas Chainsaw Massacre follows a group of influencers who attempt to make a ghost town a tourist attraction and end up in conflict with, you guessed it, Leatherface. Now, this one, from what I could gather, is once again trying to be the true sequel to the first one. It references the first one. It's like, this is the real sequel, and it's very fun for the timeline. So just forget about the last 7 movies once again, I think. This is the only one you need to watch after. Sorry, Texas 3D, you're out of here. This is the real sequel. I don't really know where to start with this one. It's on Netflix, so I went over to my girlfriend's place and I forced her to watch with me. This is the first and probably only one she'll ever watch. I feel bad I even put her through this. Let's start with the characters. Now, these characters already had an uphill battle in getting me to like them from the get-go because they have the worst fake job of being influencers. No hate against the actors, obviously. They are just doing their job. I don't have much to say about the characters they're playing, though, because 2 of them are barely fleshed out before they even meet their end, and the heart and soul of this movie, I believe, is with these 2 sisters. Now, to talk about these 2 sisters and their characters, I do have to get into some upsetting real-world issues, so if things like real-world gun violence upsets you, please just skip ahead to the timestamp right here. So we find out that one of the sisters is a survivor of a school shooting, which, when this was brought up, it already felt like this was the wrong movie to be covering such a dense topic, but I remained open-minded, and in the end, I feel like it goes about as deep as a puddle in what it's trying to say. Now, not every movie needs to say something grand about a topic. I think there's tons of great movies that present these tough issues and don't make a grand statement overall. But this one feels very mishandled in how it approaches it. The sister has PTSD, obviously, and her sister is trying to help her through this, and on paper, this could be a really compelling and emotional character dynamic and backstory. But what this all leads to in the end is that the sister, who is in this horrific shooting, she picks up a shotgun to defeat Leatherface. I can see the intent here of her overcoming the thing that's been a constant source of fear, which is gun violence, but this being how she overcomes it feels really weird and borderline offensive. I haven't been through anything like this, and my heart goes out to anyone who has, but it just feels like a comedically over-the-top way to overcome such a depressing and serious event. And if the movie was a flat-out comedy, I could see this working. I think you can make a joke about literally anything, but the movie wants you to take it seriously. At least that's what it felt like where I was sitting. I just think how this character and her storyline were handled are wildly undercooked and very mishandled in what it's trying to get across by her picking up a gun to defeat Leatherface. Like, if my friend got mugged and felt powerless, I wouldn't go, hey, go mug someone else to feel like you have control over your life again. The only other character besides Leatherface who we will get to worth talking about is Sally. Now, Sally is the only survivor from the first movie, and she returns in this one. Unfortunately, the actress who played Sally in the original passed away in 2014. So another actress plays her in this one, and pretty quickly, this felt like a not good decision in my opinion. The actress, she does a good job with what she's given, but just the fact that the original actress passed away, I feel like they should have just let the character go with her. But no, they bring her back to be in this for like 10 minutes, and I do not think I'm exaggerating with that. She's in the movie for less than 20 minutes, and the movie's like 80 minutes long, so she's in it for like 1/4 of the runtime. There's some math for you. She shows up just to be killed by Leatherface in the final act, which just feels like such a spit in the face for this character. Bringing the character back felt unnecessary. Her inclusion in the story is bare bones, and she dies in a very unceremonious way that just makes you wonder once again, why did they even bring her back? Other than to do a passing of the torch to these new, younger characters, which is not an inherently bad thing and has been done right before, but in this one it feels so on the nose and unearned. Right at the end, the sister picks up her hat and puts it on, and I'm like, I feel nothing. These characters barely knew each other. I'm just rolling my eyes. I'm like, we get it. They will lead the franchise now. Maybe. You could have done that passing of the torch without bringing back the only iconic character in the franchise, even though the actress is gone, just to kill them off in an insanely frustrating scene. Everything about this character's involvement, besides the performance, just makes no sense. And it feels like a selling point to get fans of the original back, but I don't see how anyone who likes the original could be happy with this take and or treatment of the character. The last character worth talking about is our main man, Leatherface, and I have to start off his segment by asking a simple question. How old is Leatherface? Seriously, how old is this man, Leatherface? The closest this series gets to supernatural territory is the fact that Leatherface is seemingly immortal. Is this a side effect of inbreeding? I'm not sure. So I went online to try to find this out, and according to a few sources I could find, he is in his 20s in the very first Texas Chainsaw movie. Some said 25, 26, 27, but he's at least in his 20s. So going off of that, and with this being a straight-up sequel that is said to take place 50 years after the first, he would have to be at least 70 years old. At least. Even if we wanted to pretend that Leatherface was an extremely large 14-year-old boy in the first movie, he would still be in his 60s in this one. Other than Tom Cruise or Jackie Chan, no 60-year-old is moving like this, let alone a 70-year-old. It's just hard not to notice when two characters from the original are here, Leatherface and Sally, and you look at Sally and you're like, yeah, she's aging gracefully, but it's also been 50 years. Leatherface, on the other hand, feels younger than he's ever been. This might be the entry where he's the most agile. He kills an entire bus full of people like it's nothing. He's moving like he's 20. He hasn't aged a day. That scene is where we get this gem of a line.
Try anything and you're canceled, bro.
That leads us into the tone of this one, because the tone is the last thing I want to talk about, because as much as it might sound like I just hate this movie because it has modern things like social media and influencers, I don't. I just think the use of these topics is very surface level. An example I can think of a horror movie that came out the exact same year as this that handles these topics excellently is Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. That is a modern day horror movie that has everything that sucks about modern day young people. Literally everything you can think of. But it approaches it all in a way that feels earnest and sincere despite its goofiness on first glance. This movie has multiple tones that don't complement each other but rather get in each other's way. Is this a comedic Texas Chainsaw poking fun at the social media age? Or is it a realistic Texas Chainsaw trying to talk about serious topics related to gun violence? I don't know. Maybe the tone is subjective. I couldn't get a read on it one bit, and in the end, I was just flabbergasted at most of the movie. It did feel like it was 20 minutes long, which I guess is nice. I think it's the shortest entry besides the first one. It feels like the shortest. There's this hilarious scene that I actually had to rewind because I thought I missed something, but no. Right here in this scene, Leatherface throws his hammer with the conviction of Thor, and the ending. Okay, all right. The ending is one of the funniest things I've seen in a while. Is it supposed to be funny? I don't know. You tell me. Leatherface is just immortal and invincible. And the self-driving Tesla taking the one sister away is hilarious. Like, can't you just jump out of the car? And I think they wanted to recreate the Leatherface dance from the original, but it's on screen for like 2 seconds. Let me cut to the credits and oh my god, can we get an epilepsy warning with this title card? Leatherface is at a goddamn rave! And that's about all I have to say about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. As of right now, this is the last Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. I'm sure one is being developed somewhere, but I couldn't find anything concrete as of right now. Maybe it'll be a continuation of this one, maybe a reboot, maybe Leatherface in space, who knows. As far as this franchise goes, it's certainly a strange one. While it might seem like there's a crazy drop-off after the first entry, once again, it's all up to personal opinion, and it was a franchise that kept me entertained. We got to see Leatherface in each decade from the 70s onward and see how the decade style of horror influenced the franchise, which I think is pretty cool and keeps the movies fun and fresh. That first movie did more than just start a franchise. It was the birthplace of so many horror tropes and styles. It showed the amazing capabilities of low-budget independent filmmaking. Also, while wrapping this video up, I found this chart of the actual timeline, so sorry if I sounded like an idiot trying to make sense of it all, but I mean, this is still complicated to look at. And as if this video wasn't long enough, we are going to end it off with all of the movies ranked, worst to best. I won't go into detail on each one because we just went through all of them. Here we go. Coming in at number 9, we have Texas Chainsaw 2. I know this one might frustrate a lot of people, and I really am sorry, but this one, above all of them, just, it did not work for me, like, at all. And above all, I think it's the longest. I think it might be the longest. It's like 100 minutes, so it's not super long, but compared to the others, I did really feel its length. I didn't feel that invested. I felt rather bored throughout the entire thing, and it just did not entertain me. Number 8, we have Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the 2022 one. This one gets to slightly go above part 2 because it is a pretty short one. There's some entertaining kills. It's pretty bloody, and I was entertained. I don't think I was entertained for the reasons the movie wanted me to be entertained, but I was entertained nonetheless. So just on a sheer enjoyment factor, it goes a notch above. Coming in at number 7 is Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the next generation, or the new generation, whatever that one's called. This one was crazy. It was really, really all over the place, nonsensical, bizarre. Like the others, it was entertaining though. This one I would be interested in revisiting. It would be fun to watch with some friends, just to try to make heads or tails of all of it. But for now, we're just gonna put it right here. Number 6 is going to be Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning. This one, it was just solid. I like the 2000s look of it. Out of the two that came out in the 2000s, I think I prefer the other one more, obviously. But this one still does have some good-looking stuff. It's dirty, it's grimy. Leatherface has some good kills. And I just think it perfectly sits in the middle, you know. It's not terrible, it's not amazing. Right there in the middle. Number 5, Texas Chainsaw 3D. Like I said, this is the one I've probably watched the most besides the first one, so I have somewhat of a soft spot for it. I don't know. This is another era of horror, the 2010s, that I'm kind of nostalgic for. I think it was an interesting time for horror movies. And this one is really entertaining and funny. I always kind of have a good time with this one, despite how ridiculous it all is. Number 4, we have Leatherface. This one's pretty high up, and it is a first watch, but it really is just about how this one, out of all of them, is the one that like surprised me the most with that twist. I wasn't expecting it. It really kind of recontextualized the whole movie for me because I was looking at the wrong character the entire time, being like, yo, when you gonna turn into Leatherface? And so just because it surprised me, I really enjoyed that. You know, it's always nice when a movie can surprise and shock you like that. So that's why I'm putting it here. Like I said, it could go up or down. I don't know when I'll ever rewatch it, but for now, I'm comfortable placing it right here. Number 3, we have the Texas Chainsaw, the 2003 remake. This one was really enjoyable. I think Leatherface is incredible in this one. I think he's so scary and menacing. He's just wreaking havoc, and I love seeing that from him. Love the early 2000s look. I like how dirty this one looks. It's all grimy. It's just an ugly, miserable looking movie, a lot like that first one. Coming in at number 2, we have the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 Leatherface. I think it has a great pace. I think all the kills are fun. I love all the characters. It has the most characters that I kind of left knowing their names, you know? Not that that indicates the quality of their characters, but I loved Viggo Mortensen's character. I love the survivalist character. It was just a lot of fun. It was very entertaining. I thought it was rather unexpected. You know, I never knew where it was going. I didn't expect someone to just pull up with a rifle and just start laying waste to this family. Someone should have done that a long time ago. It has the happiest ending. Not like that it matters for the quality of the movie, but I think it's pretty funny how good of an ending this one has. And number 1, big shocker, big. We got the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, obviously, this one's number 1. Yes, it is the best one. Very iconic, very influential, wonderful looking movie, despite how gross and ugly it is. I can't watch it while eating food. I can't say that about a lot of movies. Yeah, it just makes me want to throw up. And it's great. Now, this is a pretty fresh list and is always subject to change, so I'll have the list along with my letterbox linked in the description if any of you want to visit it, because who knows? Maybe this list could be inverted next time. Probably not, though. Probably not. But who knows? Who knows? Well, that's the video. I want to thank you all so much for watching. I had so much fun making this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please comment below your rankings of the Texas Chainsaw movies, your favorite kill, Final Girl, Leatherface. Tell me all about that down below. And please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And until next time, have a good one.